welcome to the Gold Hoops and God podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lauren Guerra. Thanks for joining me today. I have a wonderful guest and good friend, my friend, Dr. Yohana Juncker. Hi.
Hi, everybody. So good to be
Yay.
here.
I'm so glad you're here. We're finally recording. Y'all have no idea. This is a miracle. Let me tell you.
It's been, what,
We
4 months in the
It took four
booking and
months in the making.
unbooking and booking and unbooking?
Yes, yes. Talk about divine timing. Like the Lord had a very specific plan for us to convene on this day in July.
July
But
8th,
it's good.
2025. What a
Right, right.
blessed
It's
day,
all,
friend.
yeah, it's all divine timing and alignment. So it's good.
That's right.
So I wanted to share with folks a little bit of background info on who Dr. Juncker is. Dr. Juncker is a professor, associate professor in art, religion, and culture at Claremont School of Theology. And her research focuses on art, religious practices, spiritual practices, and decolonial studies with special attention to contemporary art. And Johanna is also very much into healing practices and different decolonial modalities and spiritual practices. So I'm very excited to have her here today.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having
Yes, amazing. So let's dive in. On my show, I always love to talk about culture and attempt to unpack this concept of what does it mean to be Latina, what does it mean to be Hispanic. And Johanna actually has a very interesting background
me.
and identity and story. So I'll invite Johanna to share a little bit of how she self-identifies.
Wonderful. Well, it's good to be in conversation with you and with your listeners. I love the podcast, so it's an honor to finally be here to tell you all a little bit about me and maybe share some musings and have some conversation around these topics. I was born in Brazil in the 80s during a dictatorship. And I consider myself a child of that particular land and that era because I think that shaped not only the ways in which we were and were not allowed to move into the world and through the world. If you haven't seen the movie that came out this year from Brazilian director Walter Salles, I'm Still Here, I strongly encourage you to, because that was um, something that shaped my childhood, that time period in Brazil. And silence was very much a character and a presence in
Mm,
our relationships.
wow.
And so, one of the ways I think in which that shaped my upbringing, and both my parents were involved with studies that had nothing to do with religion and had nothing to do with where they are right now. My mom is an educator, my dad's a pastor. He has taught for several years in like seminary contexts as well, liturgical studies as his area of expertise, and my mom critical pedagogy. So that was around the time that they really got involved with liberation theologies
Mm,
and with liberating ways and justice seeking ways
yes.
of finding a possibility out of impossibility. I always say that in my bio, that
Mm,
like part of what I'm trying to do with my own art practice, with my own spiritual practice, is to find wholeness and agency and a possibility, even in the face of impossibility, because we were denied the right to assemble in the streets. And this was, as you can imagine, for a dictatorship to be sustained, you have to place a chokehold on the imaginaries of people.
yeah.
And so you have to somehow control them and make them believe that there is no other possible way. And what the arts did at that time, and I get goosebumps talking about this because the musicians, the poets, the visual artists,
Mm-hmm.
they were trying to smuggle some dignity and some agency back into the streets of Brazil, back into the relationships, back into everything that was censored, right? Because the music that was composed and the music that was broadcast on radio had to be um, permitted. There had to be like
Mm,
um, government permission for that to be
broadcast.
broadcasted, right? I don't even know if that's the verb. So to me, like to be Brazilian and to walk around the world right now as a human
Ooh,
being,
yeah.
it had like my most undeniable and negotiable, my non-negotiable
Negotiable.
value is
Hmm.
the value of freedom.
Yes.
Freedom of creativity, academic freedom,
Yes. Oof.
to move around, in my own intersections and identities, freedom to geographic freedom, financial freedom, all of the spiritual and
Hmm.
religious
Hmm.
freedom. So
Yes.
I see myself as an interreligious person, as an intercultural person, as an interspiritual person, as a queer, brown, Brazilian, Latin American
Hmm.
woman walking around the US. That's oddly, and this gives me chills thinking about how some of our rights today are being kind of usurped,
Yes.
taken away from us
Absolutely.
in similar ways that countries in South America and Latin America saw happen in the 60s, 70s, and 80s with
Yeah.
the political presence and pressure of the US to,
Hmm.
forge these dictatorships. Anyway, so that's a little bit of how I move. um, I am very much alive. I'm very much a person, a people's person.
Hmm.
I like to be in relationship. I like to dive deep. I like to know and be present for people when I'm with
Hmm.
them. I have some friends that say that I am their samba in the US. These are
I
Brazilian.
love it. That's perfect. Oh
Come
my
on,
gosh.
I'm at. Where's the party at?
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah. I
so,
can
yeah.
attest to this, y'all. Like, definitely, it's always a good time when we hang out.
So
Oh,
life is urgent, right?
it
Life is
is. Yeah.
urgent. We
Life
don't
is
know,
precious.
yeah,
We
and
don't know
very
what tomorrow brings.
precious.
It's true.
We don't know where life
Absolutely.
is taking us, and so we do have
Yeah.
to live with all the vitality, all the vivacity. No, that's
Hmm.
not a word
Hmm.
in English, is it?
Hmm. Hmm.
Vivacity,
Vivacious. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
vivacious. I don't know. With all this energy that's pulsating through us and moving through us, right? All this
Hmm.
electric current of vitality and desire. And I'm not, I have my share of very difficult, like dealing with very difficult experiences and
Yeah.
diagnoses and
Yeah.
disabilities. But when my body is feeling stable enough to
Hmm.
give into and surrender to these experiences of joy, of
Hmm.
aliveness,
Hmm.
I'm all in.
I love it. Absolutely. I really appreciate everything that you have shared. And I think that's one of the, perhaps, in thinking about Latinos, Latin Americans, in a lot of ways, I do believe it's that shared struggle that unites us.
Hmm.
That familiarity with oppression, with dictatorships, like it's very familiar, sadly, right? So
Unfortunately,
many countries, right? It's like a very similar story, democratically elected officials being booted out,
yeah.
tyrants coming in, oppression, silencing. Like it's a pattern. It's a very familiar pattern for many, many countries. And in a way, it's like, it's eerily familiar. And so
Absolutely.
I really appreciate what you shared as far as like, time and place and where you grew up and things like that. And it's so funny. We've talked a little bit before, and I've shared this on the podcast. It's like, as much as, yes, I have lived most of my life in the United States,
Hmm.
so much of me does not feel quote unquote American at all. Like
Hmm.
I don't really ever feel like I've belonged here. And I've
Right.
felt much more at home in other countries,
Other countries.
including Spain. And we've talked about that a little bit, and I've shared it before on the podcast. But yeah, identity is such a powerful thing. And I agree with you 1,000%. Like finding moments of joy, art is resistance, joy is resistance, fighting against everything that tries to shut us down and make us small and make us scared, right?
Hmm.
Um, and these are, needless to say, like these are really difficult times. Something
Hmm.
that broke my heart this morning was, and I knew that these were available, It broke my heart this morning when I went to the little store near my home, and there's a panaderia, a little like bread shop attached to it,
Uh-huh.
to pick up some bread. And I saw on the counter they had the little red cards for people of what to do if
What to
they
do in
are
this case.
approached, what to
Mhm.
do if you know, these agents show up at your door and things like that. I'm like, oh my God, this, I mean, obviously I knew it was happening, but just something about seeing
The
those little
physicality, the
cards, yeah,
materiality
it's something,
of it,
it just hit me
made it
different, you know.
real. It made it
Yeah.
real in
It's
some
it's
ways.
very real. Like just seeing that like on the counter as I'm paying
Mhm,
for, this pan dulce, I was like, wow, people don't
mhm,
get it. You know what I mean? Like they don't get the urgency, they don't get the amount of fear that people are experiencing right now. There was
mhm,
a huge situation in MacArthur Park, here in LA. That's not even 10-15 minutes from where I live. It's very close by. It's
mhm.
predominantly Central American community in that area. And it's just so sad, it just seems like we are constantly repeating history, and not in a good way,
Bad part
right?
of
Not in a positive way, right? Like we keep
the
making these like
terrible
mistakes.
aspects of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's awful. Like it's so awful. I'm like, and that's all I really, that's kind of what I keep feeling is, when will we learn? Like when will we learn to like literally like stop hating each other and stop, you know, um trying to destroy one another. I don't know. It's
And understand that all flourishing is mutual. There's no
yes,
way, like,
yes,
if parts of the world are aching and parts of the earth
correct,
are aching, our bodies are aching, right?
correct.
Our bodies
Mhm.
are
Feeling
feeling,
the
our
same.
communities are feeling. And I think part of what
Mhm.
my Latin Americanness helps me move through these experiences of systems of the consequences of that systems of domination and control do to us
Right.
is thinking about how we have endured, how we have
Right.
survived,
So
like we have
much.
this word
Mhm.
in Portuguese. The first time I heard was Ailton Krenak, an indigenous philosopher, thinker,
Mm.
activist in Brazil. He talks a lot about supravivência instead of
Mhm.
sobrevivência. Instead of surviving, we're,
Mhm.
I think the equivalent to it would be survivance in the US.
Mhm. The
And
super survivance. Yeah. Yeah.
we flourish despite, all the harm that's done to us.
Yeah.
I think that is enfleshed, in our bones, in our
Absolutely.
marrows, our memories, our places, our
Absolutely.
stories, our art
Mhm.
making. We are where we think.
Mhm.
And so it's
Mhm.
really hard for me. Like, I live in this space, that Ansaldo will call Nepantla,
Yeah.
because I am neither here nor there. And I've learned with her that that's a
Right.
place too. And
The
it
third
helps
space.
me.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
space, exactly.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, I think a lot about what is at our disposal. And for me lately, the commitment to joy, the commitment to
Yes.
rest, the commitment of
Mhm.
undoing these systems of
Mhm.
harm,
Mhm.
right? Undoing the cognitive injustice, the ontological deprivation,
Right.
like
Right.
the epistemological violence, like all of those
Mm.
things converge in the
Yeah.
body. And so if I'm able to tend to the body and find
Mhm.
ways, like our ancestors have, uh,
Mhm.
like those who have come before us that have been fighting these
Right.
systems, I
Fight
I
or flight.
I'm
Yeah.
alive,
I'm still alive. Exactly. I'm still here. No, it really is that. I
So
was
aquí estamos y no nos vamos, right? Like,
exactly, exactly that.
uh, that's been a lot of what I've learned, and I carry with me within,
Mhm.
in my days and the things that I do when I have to show up to, communities, to work,
Yeah. Yeah.
to the relationships. I actually, there's a zine right there called Survivance that
Oh
I'm
my gosh.
looking at right
See? There
now.
you
It's
go.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things that I've shared with my students in the past. I teach Central American studies,
Hmm.
and as they're reflecting and reading all these books about Central American history and the atrocities and all these things, and what feels like the lack of justice, right? Like the blatant cruelty that's
Hmm.
just like time and time again. And
Hmm.
I remind them, I'm like, our ancestors fought hard. And
Mm-hmm.
we have that warrior spirit. I literally would be like, y'all channel your inner Mayan, you channel your inner Aztec
Right,
warrior,
right.
you know,
Because
because
the world has ended for us many, many
yes,
times.
yes, it's cyclical. Absolutely, absolutely.
Mhm.
It's so true. And it's, it is hard. I'm not, I'm not trying to diminish what's going on or what has happened in the past, but in terms of
Absolutely.
like that
We'll
fight,
draw
that
strength, like drawing
perseverance.
strength from it. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
perseverance to keep going. And one thing that I wanted to mention, which I think is so true and that we see over and over, is that some of the most persecuted people are the artists, the educators, always, the dancers,
Mhm.
anyone who's doing something life-giving and
Right.
educational
Right.
is a
Right.
target in these
Right.
scenarios.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
because it like the artists, they give us this permission of refusal, right?
Oh my
Of contesting,
yeah.
like it's their art allows us to have a sort of denunciatory attitude
Mhm.
of refusal, of contesting, of
Yeah.
demolishing, of fighting, of making noise, of creating against all odds.
Yeah.
And moving our bodies, our voices, our paintbrushes,
Absolutely.
our pens,
Yeah.
that creates worlds. And
It
so
does. Yeah.
the those that are committed and bonded to power and want the continuation of that, they know how
Mm.
dangerous it is to have
Right.
creators
Yes, it is.
hating.
Recently in one of the protests, I saw that there was a group doing ballet folklorico. I was like,
Yeah.
yes. I was like, that is,
Mhm.
out of all the things that can be done, that
Summoning.
probably
Yes.
irritates, right?
Yeah.
Just the joy and beauty of ballet folklorico, that probably irritates people the most. It irritates their demons, as we say, right?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
And
I saw a
yeah.
video too of some a mariachi band in
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in Mexico. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how old this video is, but I saw it this week.
Yeah.
And this white lady comes and like asks them, like yells
To
at
not
them
play,
to
right?
stop playing,
It's
and they play harder.
You're in Mexico and you're
Play
asking the
this
mariachis
one.
not to play. How
And
dare you? How
yes,
dare you? No,
they they drove
ridiculous.
her out of the beach, and I was like,
Good.
yes, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
But just, no, come on, come on. I actually heard something, along the similar train of thought. I heard something that now, like in the F and things, they're making the salsa less spicy to accommodate tourists. I was like, oh no,
On.
please, please, no. If people want Taco Bell, stay
And
home. If you want Taco Bell, stay home in your local, your stay in the suburbs, don't come out, because that's, to me, that is completely absurd. Like,
it
why would
is.
someone
What the hell?
travel? No,
Yeah,
why would
I
they
went to
travel
the
all the way
store.
to Mexico to not enjoy the people and the culture? What's the point? No, I don't get it.
And
I
then
don't
did
get
you
it.
see the protests, the Mexican protests, like in Mexico City? Mi casa no es su casa.
Oh,
Out of here, tourists. We can't deal with you anymore. Get
the same
out.
thing is happening. I'm sure you
Get out.
noticed too. The same thing is happening in
In
Spain. Like
Spain.
the lack of
Don't
housing is
walk
absurd.
around with somebody like squirting
Oh, the squid
water
water.
on
Yeah.
your face. Get out. Go
Yeah.
home. Go
People are
home.
fed up. No, it's
Go
true.
home, you gringos. Go
Yeah,
home.
people are fed up, like, because that's the thing, is like the local community can't even find a place to live. They can't find work. They can't do what
They
they
can't
need to do
afford. They can't
because
afford
they
the
can't afford
place.
anything. Right, right, right.
Yeah, and I was talking to this person over the weekend, in the context, a very diverse context. There were people from all over the world,
Hmm.
really, and this happened to be like a white American guy who I was talking to. And he was like, "Oh, for once, I'm like the minority here, like the
Oh,
uncultured." And I was like, "Wait a minute,
oh,
you
wow.
do have culture. It's just a culture of domination, a culture of imperialism and
Oops.
colonization. You just need to name that, because there is a
No,
culture." But like I feel like this need to like extract and
yes,
to draw from is
yes.
just something that
It's
really I have
an
a hard
issue.
time with.
Yeah, it's gross. It's so crazy. I was actually writing about extractivism this morning. That's crazy.
Wow.
That's
Yes,
crazy. Yeah, it's an issue. It's like again, like this is a consistent theme.
it
But
is.
in terms of, what are the things that give us strength and hope and joy, I want to talk a little bit about faith.
Mm-hmm.
Faith broadly defined. So I would love to hear from you, Joanna, as far as your understanding of either spiritual practices or religion, quote unquote, like more organized religion, or a little bit of both. I know you have experience in a lot of different areas, and so I'd love to hear kind of where, yeah, kind of like uh your spiritual practices. That would be
Yeah.
awesome.
So I grew up in the Methodist tradition in Brazil. That was my upbringing. But in like I was just having this conversation with my parents over the weekend.
Hmm.
We were talking about how like it was never imposed on us. So despite my dad being a pastor, like he never um there was never this
Push.
obligation
Uh-huh.
or this
Like
requirement
a
or this even
forcing or
the
anything.
expectation
That's
to go to
awesome.
church.
That's awesome.
Yeah, to go
That's
to church.
really
So I grew
incredible,
up like
actually.
not really. I grew up not really like going to. Obviously, when you're 8 years old and you can't stay home
Your
by
family
yourself,
takes you.
like you're
Yeah,
going
of
to
course.
church.
Of course.
But as when I started hitting like 12, 13, it was like it wasn't compulsory. It was something that like if I woke up on a Sunday and felt like I wanted to sleep in and not go to church, and we went to a very very progressive church
That's so
too.
cool. That's
Um,
amazing.
that welcomed and so from age 13 to 14 to 18 I was here in the US because my parents were
Oh,
getting their PhDs, so I lived part of my adolescence here. And the church we attended, the Methodist church that we attended here in Chicago actually,
oh,
was amazing. It was phenomenal. Like
oh, that's
the
cool.
pianist, like he would just drive over from the gig at night, from his jazz gig at night, and
I
just
love
like
it.
like to play. And we all knew that there were like actors and actresses in the church. They welcomed my visual arts. I created like huge murals
That's
for
dope.
for different um for different seasons, like
I love it.
yeah, it was a really amazing. So it was
It sounds
um
very positive overall. Like,
very very
that's
very
so
positive
cool. That's awesome.
until
Uh-oh. Dun, dun,
this
dun.
I decided to go back to Brazil when I was 18. So I
Mhm.
returned to Brazil by myself. They were still here finishing up their degrees. I looked for the church as sort of this space that would substitute, um, not substitute, but welcome me,
A support place.
support, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
community.
sure.
And the way that I now understand of how the Protestant tradition sort of entered into the country, which is, it's the majority, it's a largely Catholic
Mhm,
country.
mhm.
So Protestants and evangelicals now, the Pentecostalism is growing and growing and
Growing more. Yeah, same thing with Guatemala. Pentecostal has
growing.
evangelical has like over superseded almost Catholicism. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that church wasn't as progressive as the
Oh,
church
the
that I
earlier on the
attended.
path.
It
Wow.
wasn't like affirming, like
Oh
you
no.
wouldn't see like, queer folk at church like what I was used to, and
Yeah.
artists, and one of the
So it sounds more conservative for sure.
way more
Oh
conservative
wow.
and like very dogmatic, and
Mhm.
like the sermons and the doctrine, and it was very very conservative and very different from everything I had experienced
Mhm.
consciously in my adolescence
Sure.
here in the
Yeah.
US. And I remember that one of the ways I wanted to like give back to the community was like I created this painting, and I didn't have a lot. I've told the story at other places, but I think it's so um it illustrates so much like the genesis of like my commitment to both the
Mhm.
arts and spiritual practice.
Mhm. Mhm.
So here I am, an 18-year-old, like working full time, going to school
Mhm.
full time, like
Yeah.
providing for myself way before
Most.
I was
Yeah.
ready for and
Yeah.
had maturity for. So like there were some areas of my life that still needed to
You're still
develop
growing and develop.
and
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah. But
Um,
18 is still very young. Like
very
it's
young.
still
Like I
very
was
young.
paying
Yeah.
rent and I was like
That's
putting
crazy.
myself through school at 18, right?
That's
Like
crazy. Yeah.
So I
Mm.
like on the one hand, I had like enormous like maturity to like make life work.
Sure.
And there were like I didn't have enough time to like think through and sit with these very complicated existential questions. And I think
Mm.
spirituality fits, that space where
Yeah.
I was just going with the flow. I wasn't really thinking critically, and I wasn't very present to whether the things that I was doing within church were
Mhm.
actually aligned with my values, or they got me farther away from my
Oh,
values.
interesting. Uh-huh. Mhm.
So I made this painting. I offered to the church. It was on paper. It was like acrylic on paper. It was called the Sacred Cradle, and I gifted it to the pastor at the time. And like years later, like 2 or 3 years later, I find it like all torn up, folded up, and kind of discarded at one of the Sunday school classes. It was like in a pile of trash.
Oh, no.
That broke
That
my
would break
heart,
my
my
heart.
friend.
That's so
I
cruel.
took the painting home, rehabilitated the painting, like made sure that
Oh.
I had like paper over it, so like all the creases and all the like places it was torn. I have this painting to this day. And I promised myself at that time that I, one, would try to understand why it is that people
Mhm.
uh, don't accept and don't look to other modalities
Mhm.
as valid ways of accessing the divine.
Mhm.
Imagine
Like
like
there's
a
only one way. Yeah.
cradle. It was a hammock, like literally, like, and
Oh,
it had like all of these layers of meaning to it because
that's so
a hammock is something that
beautiful.
it's very Brazilian. We use
Yeah.
it, like it hugs your body. And so, well, I ended up kind of leaving the church. I was very involved, but that really broke my
Wow.
heart. And then other things
That's
about it,
traumatizing. Like,
it was
I
very
can only
traumatizing.
imagine, I don't paint, but I can only imagine if someone, so the equivalent for me would be if I gave someone like a copy of my book and they threw it out or they ripped it
Exactly.
up or they like that would be so devastating. That's
It's
horrible. I
devastating.
can only imagine. That's so cruel. Oh my
It
gosh.
is cruel.
I'm so
And I
glad
think
that you
that
have it back. You know what I mean? Like I'm so glad you were able to rescue it. Oh my
I read like I know it was spirit that led
Mm.
me to, because like I
Yeah, to go pick
never
that up. Yeah,
come,
yeah.
yeah, to go pick it up.
Oh my gosh.
And that reminds me of like this question that Laura Perez asks on Arrows and Ideologies,
Mhm.
when she's writing like, how do you come back from being violated and violenced? Like, how
Oh,
do you come back from that?
I got
And I
chills.
think
Yeah.
one of the ways I did that was by saying by committing. I didn't know at the time that that's what I was doing, but looking
Mhm.
in retrospect, I
Mhm.
I can see that I was already um being very curious and
Mhm.
allowing for like intuition and spirit to guide me through other ways
Mhm.
of relating to the
Knowing.
divine.
Mhm. 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 Yeah.
And so literature became a place, painting, art practices and creative practices, other healing modalities. And the more I experienced like traumatic events, the
Mhm.
more I would start asking, like, so how did other people in other contexts, in other times, and other
Right.
geographic locations,
Right.
um, reclaimed their sense of agency and connection and creativity, even in the
In the
face of
midst, yes.
impossibility, like
Mhm.
I keep
Mhm.
saying,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So my spiritual practice today is very much rooted in like living life as a sacred act, in ritual,
Mm.
in and in sort of tending to the compendium of practices that I have given myself to the study of, like
Right.
these ancient healing modalities.
Yeah.
The first I I remember that right after my divorce, I was feeling very, very lost. I was
Mm.
in
That's hard.
here in
Yeah.
the U.S. I had sort of documentation instability. I was having to figure out how I would pay for school and pay for rent and survive without like
Mhm.
having
Mhm.
papers to do these things. And
Yeah.
so I started learning Reiki with a Reiki master, and then I became a Reiki master in 2020, I think, right, the beginning of the pandemic.
Mm.
I also studied under Maria Veronica Iglesias, Salmadora,
Cool.
uh, priestess,
Mm.
who's based in Mexico. I have undergone this formation with Palmira Margarida, who's a Brazilian scientist and founder of an ancestral perfumery, I guess is how you
Oh,
say,
wow.
method. So learned a lot about herbalism
That's
and
a
ancestral like
I love it.
plant knowledge.
That's so cool.
The full Reiki certification with Caroline Vigeri. She's from France.
So
And
cool.
I've been studying, I think for 6 years now, cartomancy, cartomancy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So not only the tarot, but like all kinds of oracles, and understanding how these all have been technologies
Mhm.
that have kind of postponed the end of the world, to use Krenaki's words, for a lot of women across a lot of social contexts and time.
Yeah.
These were the practices that allowed them to, stretch their livelihood a little bit farther
Mhm.
and a little bit
Mhm.
farther, and to kind of live through the cracks,
Mhm.
and create cracks actually in the systems that,
Yeah.
sedimented and oppressed them. So yes, and also um, I also am a member of Tambor de Mina, which is an African Brazilian religious tradition, with Mãe Sandra de Chá d'Antan. Her terreiro is in Jequitiba, in Juquitiba, in São Paulo. And so she's sort of like my spiritual um, sort of
Your
guide.
godmother, guide, yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
in many ways, she's been taking care of me for a really long time now.
I love it.
And what I love about it is that like you know, the most conservative members of my family like uh don't agree with any of this, but the people who matter to
That's
me,
okay. Yeah, exactly.
like my parents, my siblings,
Yeah.
closest friends, everyone is incredibly supportive. And I think, given all of diagnoses and the health
Mhm.
um, challenges that I've had over these last few years, had it not been for the like, had I not had access to these healing modalities, I don't know that I'd
Mhm.
be here talking to you,
Mm.
because I think there's like spirit and like my spirituality really was fundamental
Yeah.
in creating reservoirs of wellness and healing in
Mhm.
my life.
Mhm.
So,
Totally.
a long
Amazing.
way of answering a very short
I love it.
question.
That's fantastic.
Oh,
I love
and
it.
also, astrology. Like
Yeah.
uh, I've been studying the Tao. Like I love to dive into. I have the Quran right by my bed right now, by
Mm.
my bedside. So
Beautiful.
very committed. Was reading the Bhagavad Gita a few weeks
Wow.
ago, and so
Good for
I
you.
think
Good for
there's
you.
so much wisdom and so much
Mhm.
you learned.
Yeah.
Astrology, even we were talking about human
Yes.
design, which is like
Yeah.
this thing that I'm getting into as well. That I'm starting to study, combining all
I
kinds
love it.
of ancient traditions. So anything I think that will help us, humanize ourselves,
Totally.
connect with something that's bigger, um,
Yeah.
and more eternal
Definitely.
than
Yeah.
ourselves is a gift. Really.
It is. It is. Anything that, right. I think anything that helps us connect, right? Anything that helps us connect more deeply to ourselves, more deeply to other people, as a community, etc. I think is a good thing. Yeah, it's I was raised Catholic, and I won't even say but, and my family has always been pretty open with accepting things like curanderismo,
Yeah.
like doing limpias, doing
Yes, I've done
like going to botanicas. It was not a, it was never it was
That's
never
beautiful.
seen as something bad, right? It was never seen as something bad. Of course, there was an understanding of like anything, you can go down a dark path. I mean, like anything, anything can go two ways.
Harmful, like more than dark.
Harmful,
Like
correct.
I love the darkness actually. But anything that will lead us into like
Harming, we'll call it. Yeah, that, you know what?
harmful
That's
path.
actually
Yeah.
that's a really good nuance. Like exactly. So if we think about, you know, unfortunately, a lot of times we think of like dark as negativity, as
It's
bad, evil,
home.
all those
Where the
associations, right?
silence lives, it's where the mystery is. It's like where
Yeah, but it's no, but honestly, like it is more about the, healing the shadow side. Like the womb is darkness, right? That
Mhm,
is where birth life comes from, is from out of the dark, right?
mhm,
So I think that's a good, for sure, really good nuance to make.
mhm,
But yeah, so I kind of grew up with that. I grew up with Guadalupe Mercado, so tarot
mhm.
was also pretty well accepted. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now that I've gotten older, I think that I have, oh my gosh, I think that the last couple of years have really like burst any conception that I had about God and made it like 1,000 times more complex, 1,000 times bigger. And
Mhm,
I'm grateful for that. I mean, it's been a it's been a wild ride. It's been a crazy journey,
mhm,
but I'm grateful. Yeah, I'm grateful for things like Reiki. I
mhm.
love watching Reiki videos all the time. I use them all the time,
Right.
or meditation videos. I
Mhm.
journal most days. I keep a I have a journal, and then I have like a dream journal too,
Yeah.
to try to keep track of my dreams and stuff. It's
Yeah, and my dreams,
fascinating.
I think part of my like clairvoyance really is activated through dreams. I
Yeah.
sense there's something like in the material, like in the encounter with people, and
Mm-hmm.
the older I get, the more connected to this other way, like to other ways of sensing the world and moving
Mm-hmm.
through the world.
Mm-hmm.
I also get and develop.
Right.
But the dreams, I think they are, I mean, it's how spirit talks to me. It's how I get like messages of like, it's time to get out. It's time to like
Yeah.
change,
Yeah.
courses. It's time to shapeshift. It's time to like, it's time to like
Totally.
connect to the medicine of, these beings or,
Mm.
these
Yeah.
siblings or these animals. Right. And I think
Totally.
that's where like that's like this make making this passage among many worlds
Mm-hmm.
what makes us it's what allows us to continue to like walk over not only like swim the waters but walk over
Sure.
the waters of racism, phobias, of
Sure.
ableism,
Mm-hmm.
patriarchy, cishet patriarchy,
All the
misogyny,
above.
all the above, all the things,
Yeah.
all,
All the systems. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, this is
it,
amazing. This
it
is
like
so cool.
it gives us back, it devolves like a um like an assurance that we have the right to be here, that we
Correct.
have the right to like be joyful, to touch one
Mm-hmm.
another, to make art, that our bodies have the right to move in whatever capacity they can, to
Mm-hmm.
breathe and commune, to eat, to love, to make love, like so.
Yeah.
um
Exactly.
yeah, I always think about that, that writing, that letter writing. I love writing letters. Love
Mm-hmm.
writing letters, like to friends and to myself and to my past self and to my child
That's so
self and to
cool.
my
Yeah.
future self and to
Right.
my parents and like family members or people I don't even like have contact with. And I
Mm.
always remember Ansaldua's letter to third world women, like
Yes.
when
Of
she
course.
writes like "Mujer mágica, empty yourself, shock yourself into other ways of perceiving the
Mm.
world, shock
Mhm.
your readers into the same, right? Like stop the chatter inside your head."
Oh my god. Yep.
Yes. Right.
I need
Right.
to go back and read that. Oh man, it's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've read that. But
Like,
I need to go back and read
like
it. Yeah.
it's unbelievable. Like that whole section. I think
She's a
I have it
genius.
here.
She is a genius. She was
She's a
so
and
ahead of her
she
time.
had with her dreams. Woof.
So ahead of her time. And you know what? I feel like okay, Borderlands is epic, of course. It's a classic. And also, I feel like people have not paid enough attention to her more spiritual work. Like
Oh
the
no.
work that came out after, do you know what I'm saying? The work that came out after she passed away with her drawings and things like that, her doodles and stuff. Like that is so powerful.
And even the way that
So
Anna Louise Keating organized her dissertation work,
yes,
her
yes,
dissertation work is a curandera's work.
yes, yes, yeah.
It's a blueprint for
It's a
how to move
healing book. Yeah.
around the world and how to
Hmm.
think and make and create and commune as
Hmm.
a curandera.
Yeah.
As like
That's so true.
eh,
Yeah,
that
that's
changed
so true.
my life. I'm trying to like find
I love
the
that book. I actually love that book more so than Borderlands. It hit me. You know what I'm saying? Like it
Mhm.
touched something in me from a spiritual perspective in a very
Absolutely.
deep way. I love that. Yeah, I love that
I
book.
love it too. And all the beings and like all of these archetypes and like
Hmm.
divine figures that she brings into to her ways of trying to make sense of of the world and the violences and the difficulties and the hardships and all
Yeah,
of that,
the
like,
struggle. Yeah,
and the struggle, like 100%. I can't find
so
that
true.
letter to third world women. Where is it? Mujer mágica.
Oh my gosh, friend, this has been amazing. I did want to make sure to ask you kind of
Okay.
like my
Okay.
third question or third topic that I ask my guests, which is about the inner child. You know, I think for so many of us, we had to grow up very quickly. Many of us, especially those of us who are like eldest siblings,
Mhm.
had to take on a lot of additional responsibility at a very young age. And so I would love to hear from you, you know, what you would share with your inner Nina, with your inner child, if you could talk with little Johanna, and then what advice you'd give to young women today, because there's so much happening in the world. I think that I feel for young people. I think this is a very hard time to be trying to figure oneself out in the midst of this craziness, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I will say that, but can I read something
Oh,
though?
please, yes,
So
yeah. Good.
it's from like so it's letter to third world women writers, but it's
Mhm.
called Speaking in Tongues.
Oh yeah.
I love that. So Mujer Mágica, empty yourself, shock yourself into new ways of perceiving the world. And this I would be telling my inner child as well, and all the young women
Perfect.
out there,
Yeah. Perfect.
young women and femmes. Shock your readers into the same. Stop the chatter inside your head. Your skin must be sensitive enough for the lightest kiss and thick enough to ward off the sneers.
Wow.
Isn't that powerful?
Woo!
Isn't that
I got
powerful?
chills, chills, chills.
Even though we go hungry, we are not impoverished of
Mm,
experiences. I think
wow.
many of us have been folded. So many of us have a way with words. They label themselves seers, but they will not see. Many have the gift of tongue, but nothing to say. Do not listen to them.
Wow.
Many who have words and tongue have no ear. They cannot listen and they will not hear.
Mm,
There is no need for words to fester in our minds. They germinate in the open mouth of the barefoot child in the midst of restive crowds. They wither in ivory towers and in college classrooms. So write with your ears like painters, with your eyes like painters, your ears like musicians, with your feet like dancers. You are the truth sayer with quill and torch. Write with your tongues of fire. Don't let the pen banish you from yourself. Don't let the ink coagulate in your pens. Don't let the censors snuff off the spark, nor the gags muffle your voice. Put your shit on paper.
oh my god. Okay, y'all, y'all. I cannot make this up. If you know, you know. If you know me, you're gonna know what I'm about to say.
But you are reading this.
In every way, shape, and possible. the divine spirit world is telling me to write the fucking. That's what it comes out to. To write the damn book. Ah! I can't. But you know what? Hallelujah! I did write this morning, so I'm on track. I'm on track. I'm trying to get on track. No, but that is so powerful and so
So
beautiful.
powerful. It's
It's incredible.
beautiful.
That's like exactly what I need to hear, and I need to read it every morning because
We do need to tell
I
ourselves that.
really do. I really do. Wow.
And what my young Johanna, like the little girl that was very happy and talked to everybody, was also very, very sensitive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the way that the like very extremely sensitive and
Which is a beautiful
sensitive.
thing, but we're not treated very well when we're very sensitive like that, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
And the word sensitiva, which is a person who perceives other worlds in
Uh-huh.
Portuguese, is
Mhm.
all it's
Wow.
similar to that. So I was also that already. So what
Mhm.
I would tell her was to
Yeah.
trust the messages that she was receiving because it would tell her where to go and what paths to walk down through. And that this is what I have to say to the young women and femmes that are out there. We
Mhm.
have so much wisdom in our
Mhm.
bodies. Our bodies are
Yeah.
oracles. They receive
Mm.
messages, they pass on messages, and they're the source of utmost truth.
Mhm.
And so if we can open up pathways for that communication to reach our conscious awareness,
Mhm.
we're going to avoid so much harm.
Mhm.
We're going to avoid entrapment. We're
Mhm.
going to create beautiful things. We're going to trust ourselves and our guts and our intuition
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
spirit. And so I think that's to honor that, to ritualize that somehow. I don't know if it's and give yourself to your curiosity. If
Mm.
you've been playing with cards and you want to know more about like these modalities of like divination, go for it. You
Mhm.
know, trust that your gut and your desire and your joy are leading the way. They're telling you
Mhm.
the paths to follow. So I guess that's what I would say. Embrace
Amazing.
yourself.
Absolutely. Yes. Trust your gut, trust your intuition. Don't let people, bring you down or put you down. If you feel called to do something, be it art, be it writing, dancing, what have you, go for it.
Go
I
for
love
it.
that. Oh my gosh. Yay. Oh, this was so good. Oh my gosh. See, divine timing, friend. It was meant to be. This is
Perfect.
perfect. Amazing. Loves it. Okay, folks, I hope you enjoy this episode of the podcast, Gold Hoops and God podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lauren Guerra. The episodes are available every Wednesday, wherever you listen to your podcast, including Spotify, iHeart, what are the other platforms? Apple,
SoundCloud,
all the rest. Yes. And
deep.
the video of the interviews are available on YouTube at 111 Pacific time on Wednesdays as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Yohana. You
Thank
got for joining.
you.
Yay! And I'll be
Thank
sure to
you.
tag Dr. Yohana on social media too if you want to get in touch. And thanks again, folks. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks again for tuning in.
Thank
Bye.
you for being you.